I'm your host, Dr. Dennis, and you are watching Gwent News. In this week's episode, we are gonna take a look at some new stuff that happened in Gwent, and also we have two special guests, one being cceely, giving us impressions on her way through Syndicate, and the other one being Vile, who gives us his deck, his item deck, that kinda controls the hell out of Syndicate. After the release of Syndicate, it was clear that some cards are gonna need changes. One of them was Freak Show, was absolutely overused, and you can see even the memes that were made about the card because everyone was abusing the card as much as it could have been abused. Just now it got its fix. It's not as good as it used to be as a removal, but it's still a lot of points for your deck, so it's definitely worth having still. Some other changes were some just provision changes, probably the Borsodi brothers, Sigeroven, and also the Halfling. Or yeah, I think it was Halfling. It's Dudu. Yeah, it's Dudu, whose provision was changed from 8 to 6. And also we had some fixes on bugs that were appearing on the cards. A lot of people were memeing the Syndicate, and with the reward book revealing that there's one more leader for Syndicate being unreleased, people are making fun that it's Keanu Reeves, as you can see in this post on Reddit. Also, I took part in this meme wave and I made some nice changes for some leader cards. Hope you'll like it. Many people were upset that Philippa's card is just too OP, but the user by the name of Gwent Shotgun pointed out in this post that it's just that it's fair to have it like this because the points match her provisions. Meta and don't want to play Syndicate, a guy by the name of Turtley brought up some interesting ways how to beat Syndicate. I'm gonna link you to the post down in the description. This week in Arena is in the name of Syndicate. I myself tried the Arena runs and it's quite crazy if you draw like 3 Flying Redanians for your deck and also 3 Binsies with Gudrun. So don't resist and go try. The next great news we got were from Jason Slama, one of the game directors, that brought us this amazing news that everyone was rooting for, and he pointed out that they won't nerf the Syndicate cards to the grounds with the next patch, but they are gonna balance the game in the way that the other factions, Northern Realms, Skellige is kinda in the way with Syndicate, so not much Skellige, but Monsters, Squad Cell, and the other faction, Nilfgaard, they are gonna be more in line with what's happening with Skellige and Syndicate Bronzes, so that was great news for us. A guy by the name of Gubas on Reddit suggested an interesting way how to improve search filters in Gwent. Take a look yourself. And this wasn't the only suggestion that Gubas has made. The other suggestion is with how the coins should look in the game. Here's what he did. The discussion on Reddit has brought up the fact that Vatir the Riddle is not as good as Philippa and he's much more harder to pull off than she is. I know that there is a cap on how high the unit can be that Philippa can seize and that Vatir has no such a lock, but you have to do a lot of things in order to make him work. So just take a look at what the people had to say to that and decide yourself if it's up to CDPR to fix him or if he's good as he is right now.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
Flag reached out to some of the developers of CDPR and brought us 7 cards that we are about to see but they were changed in the last moment and never released. You can find the link to the video in the description. It's really fun to watch, I watched it myself, and there are some crazy designs with the cards that he mentions. Now for the two guests, one of them being Cceely, who brings her impressions on the Syndicate.
Hi everyone, I'm Cecilia. I stream Gwent on Twitch, and I got asked to make a video talking a little bit about some impressions and thoughts that I have on the Syndicate faction. So I want to talk a little bit about that and then go through some of the cards that got affected by the hotfix that we got this week. So yeah, I'll do that. Now first off, I want to say I really like Syndicate as a faction. I feel like the cards they synergize well together. It feels like the faction as a whole is very well thought out, and yeah, it's got a lot of different types of cards you can play. For example, bounties and swarm is an archetype that I've really enjoyed. I think Hemmelfart right now is actually my favorite leader because it's fun to pilot, and yeah, I wouldn't say he's the best leader. However, depending on the matchup, he can be pretty solid actually, and yeah, it's just a fun and satisfying type of a deck to play. I also played a little bit of Gudrun Shoop, courtesy of Baby Joseph, before we got the hotfix. That was a fun deck to play as well. Shoop is actually pretty good in Syndicate because the bronzes are so solid. Yeah, but yeah, in general, I've really been liking it so far. I'm still figuring out a lot of things. It was very new and very different, but obviously very fun to play and to pilot. So I still have a lot to learn, but I still have a lot of cards I haven't tested. So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing all of those things. Yeah. Also, the art, once again, the card art is beautiful, and I'm looking forward to seeing the premiums that we will soon get to see. The ones that didn't get released yet. But yeah, that's kind of a lot of positive things. I'm very impressed with this new faction in general. I feel like it's good. Obviously, it has been very strong, and now we got the hotfix, and it's a little bit more balanced now. So that's fun. Let's talk about some of the cards that got affected. We have Siggy here. He's a 3-power card. He used to be 4 and 13 provisions. He used to be 12 provisions. He's still very strong. He's still playable. It just makes you have it. Yeah, it doesn't give you as much room as before when crafting a Syndicate deck. So if you want to include him, you have to kind of compensate on other things. Kind of the same here with the Borzodi brothers and their nerf. Oh, I clicked something away. That's unfortunate. That was Ewald. I'm sorry. Let's bring him back. Here he is. So yeah, they also got nerfed provision wise. They are now 1 provision more expensive, so you kind of have to keep that in mind when building your Syndicate deck, as these are kind of auto-include cards almost in every Syndicate deck. They are still very strong. You kind of have to compensate on other things. So yeah, that is pretty solid. Then we have the Caleb Menge nerf. He got a cooldown, which was very much needed in my opinion. And the good thing is that Bounty is still a very strong type of card to play, or status to play for sure. he did not, yeah, nerfing Caleb isn't a really big nerf for Bounty as an archetype, but yeah, we'll have to see whether Bounty is a little too strong still, but yeah, that might be the case, but time will tell, and maybe we'll get some Bounty balances later on as well, because it's still very strong, but I think that is okay. I want to talk a little bit more about the Borsodis. I know Ewald spent 15 years in the sewers, so I definitely don't want to over nerf these cards, but I still think they are a little bit too strong. And the problem that I have with these two is that it's points that are very uninteractable with. Like, you can't interact with those points very easily, which is quite annoying. For example, with Gudrun as a leader, you could have one of your brothers in round 3 in the graveyard. You play one of those from your hand, you get 4 profit immediately. Maybe you had some carryover coins or some spare coins. You suddenly have a lot of points that you can immediately use, as well as in combination with using a leader ability like King of Beggars or Gudrun, where you get even more coins. You can then use these 2 engines to just spam those points on the board in one turn, which is the thing that I have a little bit of an issue with, that you don't really have a chance to interact with those. It's just a big tempo play in one turn. And that is pretty much, yeah, you can't really do anything about that, obviously, because you can use the points immediately. So maybe my solution for that would be a cap on how many times in a row you could use the brothers the fee ability. I'm not sure whether a cap would be an over nerf. Maybe that is the case. Yeah, but that is my personal opinion on those 2 cards. Yeah, we have Freak Show as well. Oops, Freak Show got quite a big nerf, which was expected because it was such a strong card before. Yeah, I'm okay with this nerf. I don't think it's too big. I think it's actually okay, because I still feel like at 6 provisions you can still get good value on him. Maybe he could be a 6-point power card, but you can still get a lot of value. For example, in Squirtle you have the card Milva. You can get rid of Milva by just using this card, for example. Counters that and counters other immune cards such as the werewolves in the monsters faction. Yeah, and other small engines, of course. So I still feel like you can get pretty good value out of this card. Then we have the Apothecary. She got nerfed quite a lot. Her tribute is now 3, which is quite expensive. However, I still think that for a 4 provision card, she's still okay. She's still playable for sure. So yeah, I don't hate this nerf. Maybe she got a little bit over nerfed, but yeah, I still think you can get more value out of her with the heal ability, and also the boost is boost an allied unit by 3. So immediately using her on ranged, she becomes 5/4/4 provisions, which is still good, I would say. The tribute is expensive, however. Then we have a buff, which is nice. We have a buff to Rico Meyersdorf. He's a dual faction Nilfgaard card. And yeah, I haven't seen him being played yet, but I hope he's going to see a lot more play, because 406 provisions, I think he should definitely be able to get his value. If you play this card, you should be able to get value on him, and a lot of the times maybe even more value on him. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing this card in action. I haven't seen it yet, but yeah, it's very much a playable card right now, I feel like. So those are the cards that mainly got affected. Philippa didn't get affected, or the Redanian, Flying Redanian. Those are kind of two cards that start a lot of conversations, I would say. And yeah, I don't really have a problem with Philippa. I don't really have a problem with the Redanian either, because there are so many counters to that. You can muzzle it, you can banish it. And when it comes to Philippa, she becomes an issue when she steals an engine, for example. Then her value becomes quite big. Yeah, for example, stealing Priest from Skellige or something from Northern Realms obviously becomes a issue for that faction in general. But yeah, I think maybe coins are a little too easy to get, and that kind of ties in to my complaints with these two cards as well. Maybe it's the fact that you can get coins very easily. However, I've talked with some other people and streamers as well that, you know, pointed out that it is very risky to start kind of nerfing or like making it so that coins are more difficult to get, because it can easily make the whole faction unplayable, as it's so based around profit and fees, all of that, tributes and stuff. So starting to nerf that is very risky, but we'll see what happens. I'm sure there will be some more changes by the end of the month when we get the new patch, some kind of tweaks. But all in all, I'm really impressed with Syndicate as a faction. It's fun to play. I don't hate playing against it as much anymore after the nerfs. It still has solid bronzes. Feels like a, again, very thought out faction. It's fun to play.
And our second guest is Wild with his Eitney deck guide.
So the basic idea behind this deck is to basically destroy your opponent with solid early game tempo and insane finishers like the Great Oak and Sheldon Skaggs later on in the game. Geralt Igni provides insane removal, especially at this moment in the meta, and this is just a pure heavy value deck with a lot of carryover strength. And yeah, the deck is pretty much the only flaw the deck has is if you're gonna be bled, and then it can get a bit tricky. You might have a bricked card here, brick card there, but as long as you get control of the game, this deck wins 90% of its matchups, because you will either have a long round or last say, and that's gonna be like super good. The only cards that really are iffy with this deck might be the Dwarven Skirmishes, but they are, in my opinion, the best 4 slot there is for this deck. You do have 2 Dragoons to synergize with them, but ideally you'd rather use them to synergize with Geralt Igni. Now Geralt Igni, like I said, solid card in this meta. There's a lot of Francesca going around, there's a lot of greedy decks going around with a lot of tile units, so you basically can get always like at least 20 to 22 points from Igni. Of course, in a short round you don't want it in your hand, it's the obvious mulligan. And then Sheldon Skaggs is always your finisher, except maybe against Nilfgaard when there can be Shillard. You might want to play this a bit earlier if it looks like they have Shillard in hand. And the Sheldon Skanks is a really solid card because basically what it does is it wrecks your opponent's engines and it has like insane carryover value. So I really like this deck and it's super good, especially at this moment of the meta. And I totally recommend you would play this list for your Squirtle placements.
And this concludes this week's Gwent show. Hope you enjoyed it. Smash likes, subscribe, and check out all the links down in the description.